Yo, what it do, everybody? This is your boy, the Black Gandhi, bringing y'all a different type of video today. Um, for the longest time on this channel, I've done a variety of different things. I've done Pokemon because I love Pokemon, even though I'm still a kid at heart. You know what I mean? But I still love it. You know what I'm saying? Especially since the other side of the Pokemon is for more my people. The battling side of things are like that. But I've done that. I've covered the NBA. I've covered the NFL. I want to branch out and start covering more sports like that. So hopefully in the future I'll be able to do that. Um, and which actually brings me to today. A couple of days ago I made a video on a recent event that just passed for the FGC. Combo, I believe, was it Combo Breaker? No, I don't think it was Combo Breaker. Was it Combo Breaker? I think it was Combo Breaker. I think it was Combo Breaker. Combo Breaker is sticking out of my head so hard right now. But it was this not this past weekend, but the weekend before that. I had made a video talking about in particular Street Fighter Five and Killer Instinct. But I didn't like the video after I had watched it over because I realized I was stuttering a lot over my own words. I forgot names and things like that. So unfortunately my e league my esports coverage debut won't be for another time. Um, once I get more comfortable, talking about it and everything like that without stuttering over my own words. Anyhow, let's get into today's video. I want to start talking about the WWE. I was a huge wrestling fan growing up as a kid. Then I stopped liking it. I stopped watching the WWE around 2008 or so. Consistently. I still watched it from time to time, but I stopped watching it like both shows every single week and everything like that. Only because I know that once the Attitude Era was over and we were starting to shift over to the PG era, for a long time before the brand split last year, the WWE was just in limbo, and then obviously Triple H developed NXT and turned it into its own entity, and rather than a competition that turned into its own entity, and that really brought me back in. That and also the drop of Impact Wrestling, formerly known as CNA. Um, and for a while, from about 2006 to 2010, I was religiously watching TNA over WWE. But then obviously Dixie Carter happened. Then Hulk Hogan and Eric Bischoff getting involved in the company happened, and then it just went to shit. it like I really see a conscious effort of them trying to bring it back, but I just think it's too little, too late at this point. WWE is just so ahead of the curve now, and everybody wants to go there again. And it's like, man, it's like I don't know if Impact will ever get back to the way TNA used to be, but we'll see. I'm optimistic. I'm hopeful. But I want to talk about Extreme Rules that just passed, and I want to do this video yesterday because obviously it's the day after, so I could get my thoughts together, everything like that. But I couldn't do it yesterday. I had therapy. Then obviously from the long day, I was tired. My hip was killing me, so I just went down and didn't get a chance to make it yesterday. So we're gonna make it right now. So like I said, Extreme Rules was last night. Was on Sunday. Excuse me. See, that's my mindset thinking to that. I was trying to do this on Monday, but anyway. So Extreme Rules was on Sunday night, and it wasn't that impressive to me. The first hour was just a complete bore fest, and the second hour it picked up, but the second hour wasn't enough to really save the show for me giving the show a 6 out of 10. In my opinion, it was only a 6 out of 10 because the first half really was a 2 out of 10 for me, and the second half was an 8.5 out of 10. Like I don't know how that equates to six, but we're gonna go with it. So let's just start it right off. The first match of the night. I didn't watch the pre-show unfortunately because I was having internet issues. So I do a little trick where I don't mess. I don't try to correct. I will try to cut the internet back on until 8 o'clock. So yeah, so I didn't watch the pre-show, but I did watch the entire Extreme Rules from beginning to end. The actual show. And so we'll start with the first match of the night. It was Dean Ambrose versus The Miz for the Intercontinental Championship. Dean Ambrose would lose the Intercontinental Championship if he were to get disqualified in this matchup. So this match was it didn't really do anything for me. All it really showed was all the Miz's tips and tricks on how to get people disqualified, including having his own wife Marie slap him in the face to try to get Dean disqualified. But I will give him credit. The tactics did work out in the end because it distracted the ref long enough with him, playing mind games on the referee, trying to see should he just let the fight continue or should he just call for the bell. And obviously, the Miz hit Dean with a skull crushing finale. Thus, the Miz has now become a 7-time Intercontinental Champion. I believe that is the second most reigns in WWE history behind Chris Jericho's 9. So, congratulations to the Miz. Hope you're proud of the way you accomplished it, but hey, it is what it is. I don't like the Miz. I haven't liked the Miz. I don't think I've ever liked the Miz actually. His accomplishments are his accomplishments. Don't you can never take that away from him. I believe he's a 7-time Intercontinental Champion. I believe they said a 6-time Tag Team Champion, a 5-time United States Champion, and obviously a former WWE Champion as well. So his accomplishments are what they are. Doesn't mean I have to like the guy. So that's the first match of the night. Then we have the next match, which was Noam Dar and Alicia Fox going up against Rich Swann and Sasha Banks in Rich Swann's hometown. And again, this was just another board fest. It really seemed like that the action was focused on Noam Dar and Rich Swann in this matchup. Sasha and Alicia really didn't get too much into it. It just doesn't look like they work well with each other, in my opinion. It just looked a little sloppy and everything like that on their ends. But the Rich Swann and the Wimdara side, it looked pretty good. It was solid. Rich Swann and Sasha were able to get the win. In the end, after Sasha dropped Noam Dar from the top rope with the double knees, and the Rich hit his move. I'm not sure what the name of it is, but it's his it's a corkscrew 450 splash, and it was pretty impressive. So Rich Swann and Sasha danced their way to victory. That's at the end. Props up to Rich Swann for getting a win in his hometown. And hopefully he'll be on his climb back up to reclaiming the Cruiserweight Championship of the world. Then we had the Elias Sampson segment. He played the song real quick. That's pretty much there's really nothing to talk about there because in my opinion, he's not even relevant. So we'll move on to the next matchup, which was Alexa Bliss versus Bayley on a candlestick on a pole match for the Raw Women's Championship. Now this match was one of two matches that confused me. Now, for those, maybe y'all can help me out here, but I'm pretty sure that the rules were right that the first woman to get their hands on the candlestick from the pole had the right to use it, right? And was the only one to use it. Now, obviously, I believe the candlestick fell, if I remember, from the pole. But Bayley got to it first. But somehow Alexa Bliss was able to use it. Now, maybe somebody could explain this one to me. What, like, did I not understand the rules or something? What is that? Was my interpretation of it not what it was supposed to be? That freaking just because Bayley got to it first, that doesn't mean that she's the only one that can use the candlestick. If she drops it and Alexa claims it, then she has the right to use it. I mean, is that what went down here? Or was it because that the fact that neither woman grabbed it from the pole itself that it fell, that it was free game after that? I mean, because I'm confused because from my interpretation of the rule, it looked like Bayley should have been the only one that should have been able to use the candlestick. But obviously that didn't happen. I don't even think she used it at all, to be honest with you. I think Alexa was the one that did all the damage with it. Obviously, Alexa Bliss was able to retain. It was pretty much a squash. Pretty much burying Bayley. So My opinion on that matchup was it was an okay match. Again, it was the best match of the first half of the show, in my opinion. But again, it was just a complete snooze fest because, like I said, it just looked like that they were squashing Bailey, trying to keep her down, and it looks like that they're going to give the same treatment to Alexa Bliss that they gave to Charlotte Flair when she was on Raw during the course of last year, where her and Sasha were going back and forth for the title for a little bit, but all three of Sasha's title reigns didn't even compute to just one of Charlotte's, and then she had two more long reigns on top of that. It was like I think that this is what's happening here, especially with what we saw last night on Raw, um, in the title match against Nia Jax. So I just think that they're gonna keep the title on her for a while, and I don't know who they're gonna pick to beat her. I don't think, but like I said, the way they buried Bailey last night, it doesn't look like it's gonna be Bailey, and I don't think that she's gonna be in the title picture anytime soon. So let's get to the second hour of the show, the second half, and this is where the action started picking up. However, this is where the second confusing part for me happened here, right? So we had the Hardys versus Sheamus and Cesaro in a steel cage match for the Raw Tag Team titles, right? And the rules were there was no pinfalls or submissions to be allowed, right? And that the only way to win was when both members of one team both escaped the cage at the same time. Now, that same time part really confuses me, which is why I think that's why Sheamus and Cesaro won. Because if y'all remember, during the course of the matchup, which was very great, in my opinion, the best match of the night, um, we saw that Jeff actually escaped the cage already. So that left Matt to fend off against Cesaro and Sheamus by himself. And he was doing all right. He got his licks, but he was giving some back. But we saw a turn, and it forced Jeff to climb the cage, and then do a whisper in the wind off the top of the cage. Thus, he re-entered the match. I guess was what the ruling was, because of the fact that he escaped the cage and then climbed back over the cage and then jumped back in. He re-entered the match, meaning he had to escape again. Because if my calculations are correct, right, the match should have been over when, towards the end, we saw that Sheamus and Cesaro were climbing the cage and that Matt and Jeff were using the door. Once Matt Hardy stepped out, the Hardys technically should have won the match because Jeff had already escaped. So that's the part that's confusing me. Is it because the fact that Jeff Hardy climbed the cage and re-entered the cage, did that nullify his escape? That's the thing that's really confusing me. Like I said, this was the best match of the night, but that ending was very questionable to me because I don't know if because of the fact that he climbed the cage and re-entered the cage, that nullified his escape. Because if that was the case, then Matt and Jeff should still be the Raw Tag Team Champions because Jeff had already escaped. And then Matt obviously escaped before Sheamus and Cesaro did. When you look at the tape, obviously Sheamus and Cesaro won because we don't know if whether or not because of the fact that Jeff Hardy re-entered the cage, that his escape was nullified and thus he re-entered the match. So then when Sheamus and Cesaro touched down at the same time, only Matt was out and Jeff just barely missed out on escaping. So that's the part that was confusing about me. But at the end of the day, we have new Raw Tag Team Champions in Sheamus and Cesaro. And it looks like that they're going to have it for a while, too, with that squash match that they had last night against Heath Slater and Rhino. It looked like there was just a whole bunch of squash matches last night, to be honest with you, on Raw. But, hey, it is what it is. Then we have the submission match between Neville and Austin Aries for the Cruiserweight Championship of the World. Again, a really good match, a really, really good match. There was no whatchamacallit about this one. Neville beat Austin Aries pretty clean, if I do say so myself. It was a great match, and we'll see what happens from there. Yeah, we didn't have a title change last night, actually. Oh, no, wait, no, we did have Miz capture the Intercontinental Championship. I was about to say we did have a title change last night, which was the first time in a while. But the Miz won. But we only have one title change. So Yeah, that was a really good match. Pretty good back and forth, good showsmanship of submissions. But at the end of the day, like I said, Devil beat Austin Aries pretty clean, so I can't really complain about the result there. And then the final match of the night was the Extreme Rules Fatal Five Way Number One Contendership match, where the winner will go on to face Brock Lesnar at Great Balls of Fire, which I still can't believe that's the name of a pay per view, but hey, it is what it is. So we have Finn Balor, Seth Rollins, Samoa Joe, Bray Wyatt, and Roman Reigns in this matchup. And I'm going to be honest with you, even though I did say that I watched it from beginning to end, I listened to it from beginning to end. I didn't really watch it because I was checking Twitter during the match. And while I was checking Twitter, nothing, because the finals was also happening as well, so I wanted to keep posted up with that. Um, Nothing really popped off to make me want to, sit up and look at the TV and see what was going on in the match. But I heard some good action. It was a good match. And eventually at the end, from what I could tell, Bray Wyatt and Samoa Joe had a mini alliance for much of the match. But Samoa Joe eventually turned on Bray Wyatt and was able to, I believe, pull the Coquina clutch on Finn Balor in order to get the win. Now he's the number one contender going into Great Balls of Fire against Brock Lesnar for the Universal Championship, which is a whole nother bullshit in itself because we haven't even seen Brock Lesnar on TV since WrestleMania, and you're trying to tell me it's going to be a full 3 months, maybe even four, since we've seen him on television, but he's still been able to keep his Universal title. But, and then also last year, before Bayley and Alexa Bliss officially had their match for the title, when I forget Becky was the SmackDown Women's Champion, she was able to keep her championship for a while. It wasn't her fault though. There was just a whole bunch of freak things that ended up happening to her, but she was able to keep her championship. But we saw earlier this year that when Naomi hurt her knee against Alexa Bliss when she was on SmackDown and she captured the SmackDown Women's Championship, because she hurt her knee in the match, she had to forfeit the championship that following Tuesday, which is weird to me because according to WWE, if you have failed to defend your championship within the 30-day period, you will be stripped of said championship. But we saw clearly that was about 2 months for Becky when she had the title before she defended it finally against Alexa Bliss. It will be, like I said, 4 months since we've seen Brock Lesnar even be on TV, let alone defending the title. But he's still the champion. See, WWE think they slick, but they not. That just shows who they care about, who their cash cows are, and who they don't really care about. So that's it really. It was a, like I said, the first half of the show, which was pretty much like the first hour 15 or so, was just a snooze fest overall. Like I said, the best match of the first half was Alexa Bliss versus Bayley, but at the end of the day, it was pretty much a glorified squash match. So nothing really spectacular there. The second hour, the second half of the show, the final three matches of the night, that was where the show regained itself and pushed myself to give it, like I said, an 8.5 out of 10. All three matches were great. The Hardys and Sheamus and Cesaro were the best match of the night, in my opinion. And like I said, Austin Aries and Neville put on a great technical performance as well with submissions and everything like that. And the fact that Neville beat Aries pretty clean, I gotta give a lot of props up to Neville on that one. Just proved that Neville was the better man that night. And then this fatal five way match, it looked like I said, it sounded like it had a lot of good action in it. Congratulations to Samoa Joe finally getting that push for the Universal Championship, and we'll see what happens at Great Balls of Fire. So, like I said, I give Extreme Rules a 6 out of 10. Like I said, the second half of the show was just not enough for me to raise it to my average of 7. That's usually where I would give most of the pay-per-views, unless if it was really explosive, then I would go higher. But I usually give all the pay-per-views a 7 usually. But this, like I said, this wasn't a 7 to me. I even feel like a 6 is giving it a little too much credit, but I'll stick with my 6 rating. I'll give it a 6. and we'll see what happens at Money in the Bank in 2 weeks. It's going to be lit. The main event obviously being the two Money in the Bank matches, including the first ever women's Money in the Bank match. I cannot wait for that match, man. That match is going to be crazy. History is going to be made once again for the ladies, man. And I cannot wait to see what they do in that ladder match, man. I cannot see the creativity that some of them are going to do, especially Charlotte, because I know that she's going to do something crazy in this matchup. Who knows? Maybe it might be a moonsault from the top of the ladder. Who knows? But I cannot wait for that. I cannot wait for that match, man. Shane and Daniel continue to do their damn thing on SmackDown Live. I cannot wait for that pay per view. That'll be it was 2 weeks from this past Sunday, so it'll be a week and a few days from this upcoming Sunday. So, like I said, that's it, y'all. I want to thank y'all for listening to me ramble and talk about and review Extreme Rules last night. Oh yeah, on Sunday. Again, my mind says so. I forget I wanted to make this video on Monday, and I think that it's Monday, but it's Tuesday. Anyway, thank y'all for sticking with me. If y'all enjoyed the video, leave a thumbs up. Leave y'all opinions in the comment section below of what y'all thought of Extreme Rules if y'all watched it. And give it your own rating scale as well. Even if it's out of 5, I just do out of 10 just because that's how I usually do ratings. If you enjoyed the video, leave a thumbs up. If you did, leave a thumbs down. Let me know. Be honest with me. What I continue to improve. And yeah, until the next one, y'all. Have a great night, everybody. Afternoon, evening. Continue to stay blessed. And as always, this is your boy, the Black God, is signing out. Until the next one, peace.